Milton, I love your backdrop.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, I got a few of them, but that's my favorite.
My computer won't let me do that.
Oh, you got
Okay, friends, we'll start in just about 2 more minutes. I see more people still coming in, and I have one more thing to do, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Glad to see so many of you here, including my sister from Canada, who always tries to be obscure and in the background. Wave at them, Regina, so they know who you are. That's her with the beautiful.
I've got my real face on.
You do? Okay.
Hi, Regina.
Hi.
I remember Regina. How are you?
Okay.
Fine. Who's that remembers me?
Hi, Regina.
I can't see everybody because I'm on an iPad.
Oh, okay. That's Berdina.
Yes. Hello, Apa.
Oh, hi, Berdina.
And Marsha Roy Berry.
Yes, I'm off the screen.
Hi, Marsha.
Hi, sweet one.
Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.
Oh, stop.
Nasim, خوشحالم شما میبینم.
Oh, I haven't heard Farsi in so long. It sounds so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm studying it right now.
Oh, really?
It's fun. It's beautiful.
I thought you were a native speaker.
Yeah.
I couldn't see who was speaking. I just heard it. That's all.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let me get out of here.
Thank you.
Get our things lined up for what we're doing. And then we will be good to go. All right. Okay, friends. Well, welcome to this edition of the Baha'i series on racial healing and racial justice. If let me put my video back on so I'm not this disembodied voice. Everyone's looking around who's talking. Can you see me okay, friends? Okay, and you can hear me okay. If you have a problem, let me know. I have a habit of having my papers in front of my microphone, but I'm going to try and not do that today so we don't hear these awful, horrid noises. But anyway, welcome. It's so good to see so many of you here. We almost have 50 people. That's wonderful. Very excited. Racial healing, racial justice. I just want to say a few words again about this series and why it started. It is with the Baha'is of Wacomico County. We're in Salisbury, Maryland, and of course the county is the county, and Salisbury is part of that county. But we're a small group of Baha'is down here, and this was something that we had wanted to do for quite some time, and for various reasons, resources, etc., we weren't able to do anything like this most vital and challenging issue, which is racial prejudice. And I want to say, because I think to me it's very important, I'm the only Black Baha'i, active Baha'i in this community, and the rest of my Baha'i friends are white. And they're the ones who said, we've really got to be talking about this, and we've really got to be doing this. And this is one of the things I'm so proud of about being a Baha'i, is that the white Baha'i friends are really taking this on and recognizing and stepping up, to what they need to do to help us all further eliminate racism. So anyway, so Zoom came along and our problems were solved. So we had a way to do this, and it's just kind of evolved from there. And we'll keep doing these as long as we have topics and things to learn and some things to unlearn in that process, this process of eliminating racism. But I do want to share a statement, a portion of a statement from the Universal House of Justice. And that's our governing body for Baha'is all around the world. And this is just a brief portion, but it says very concisely how important this issue is and why it's important. And it states, racism is a profound deviation from the standard of true morality. It deprives a portion of humanity of the opportunity to cultivate and express the full range of their capability and to live a meaningful and flourishing life while blighting the progress of the rest of humankind. There's an awful lot in there. It's a profound deviation from the standard of true morality. And I think that's one of the aspects, and Kenton will be touching upon this in his talk in a few minutes, about the spiritual aspects of why we are where we are, and likewise, how spiritual principles and actions to go along with them is what is going to get us out of this mess. It will take a long time. We didn't get here overnight, and it will take a long time. But I think, at least speaking for myself as a Baha'i, I know that there is a bright light at the end of the tunnel. I may not live to see it. My grandchildren may not, but we know it's there. And it's a journey that we invite everyone, and we welcome joining others in this journey of eliminating prejudice. So enough about us and who we are, how this devotional got started. I just want to share, if we have some friends here tonight who haven't attended before, I want to share just a little bit about a Baha'i devotional. We start off our meetings with a devotional. It's usually some prayers. Typically here in this form, it's almost always music, not entirely, but we always have some kind of music involved. And I'd like to share a couple of quotes for you about why we do this. The last time we met, I indicated it's a refuge, it's a respite for us, away from the clamor and the confinement and the confusion of the rest of the world. And that is true, but there's even deeper meaning to that. And obviously, of course, it's our prayer and devotion is that connection to God, right? Our Creator. But let me just share these two quotes for you. The first says, and this is from, again, actually from the Universal House of Justice. It says, devotional meetings are occasions where any soul may enter, inhale the heavenly fragrances, experience the sweetness of prayer, meditate upon the creative word, be transported on the wings of the Spirit, and commune with the one beloved. Feelings of fellowship and common cause are generated, particularly in the spiritually heightened conversations that naturally occur at such times and through which the city of the human heart may be opened. And then just one more short one. Often it is said that the strength of society is built on the strength of every family, including our spiritual family. By this we know that whatever elevates the family bond, enhances its unity, and fosters its reliance on God, is sure to affect change in society at large. What can better elevate our families at this time and deepen the spirit of faith than regular prayer and reflection on that which is most sacred? So all of us here together, we are part of a spiritual family, a worldwide community, as friends of the faith, as adherents of the faith, people of no faith. We're all here and embarked on this journey together, and we welcome you wholeheartedly. We're going to start our devotional portion now, and we're going to start with a musical piece just released called Radiant Heart. It's a very popular Baha'i song. The lyrics are from the hidden words in the Baha'i faith. They're little short passages, sort of like parables to us, and that have great meaning. And then following that, if Kathleen has not gotten kicked out with their internet connection, she'll be sharing two brief quotes for us from the Baha'i writings. Then Ormond, who I've seen here, hi Ormond, He will be singing his rendition of Pupil of the Eye. Nassim will have a beautiful prayer for us. And then Milton will conclude our devotional portion with his and our favorite song, Hollow Reed. So bear with me and let me share the screen, and we will hear this beautiful piece of music.
Oh, Son of Spirit, my first counsel is this. Oh, Son of Spirit, my first counsel is this. Possess a pure, kindly and radiant heart, that thine may be the sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. O Son of Spirit, my first counsel is this. Possess a pure, kindly and radiant heart, that thine may be the sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. Everlasting.
God the Almighty has created all mankind from the dust of earth. He has fashioned them all from the same elements. They are descended from the same race and live upon the same globe. He has created them to dwell beneath the one heaven. Abdul Baha. Ye are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch. Deal ye one with another with the utmost love and harmony, with friendliness and fellowship. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. Baha'u'llah.
Pupil of the eye, the source of our vision, teachings of a holy man who spoke to us from prison. Pupil of the eye, the Creator's gift of sight, a gift for all humanity, seekers of the light. Pupil of the eye, the source of our vision, teachings of a holy man who spoke to us from prison. Pupil of the eye, the Creator's gift of sight, a gift for all humanity, seekers of the light. Baha'u'llah, Baha'u'llah.
O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence, they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all. Dost shelter all. Conferest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind. Abdul Baha.
Make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, oh my God, make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self hath been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others.
Thank you, friends. I just felt all that so deep in my heart, I'm almost at tears today. Sometimes it just hits you that way. Thank you all so very much. And if any of the friends would like to say prayers or help put together our devotional portion, your involvement is most welcome. So let me talk about our speaker and introduce him. Those are two different things, you know, to talk about him and to introduce him. And I say that because Kenton and I go back a very, very, very long time. And I have a very fond memory of him. And I was a very young Baha'i, probably a year if that, I think, maybe going on 2 years in the faith. And he would come by my job on occasion, just kind of spur of the moment and show up around lunchtime. And we'd go and across the street, not too far from my office. This was in Colton, California. And we would go sit on this little patch of grass. It seems I recall a little hill. And, but we would say prayers together there. And it was such a special time for me. And I remember his stewardship, his companionship of me very fondly. And he's also been a great source of information and guidance, both personally and in the affairs of the faith. So, kind words about my good friend Kenton. Kenton is coming to us from Chile in South America. We're just absolutely delighted that he's able to be here with us this evening. As you may have read in the discussion, he's going to focus on the Baha'i perspective as to how and why we have arrived at our current conditions and how Baha'is understand and interpret these conditions. And then, of course, not only interpreting them, but what are we doing about it? And what are we inviting others to join us in doing about it? A little background about Kenton. He became a Baha'i in 1968 in Palm Springs, California. He then went to Temuco, southern Chile in 1977 to help with the Mapuche Indian teaching work there, as at that time thousands were enrolling in the Baha'i faith. He came back to the United States in 1981 to earn his master's in English from UC-Riverside, and during that time he also served as an assistant to the auxiliary board. After completing his degree, he went on and spent several years in South Korea and Taiwan, pioneering and travel teaching with the mountain people and indigenous tribes in both countries. He returned to Chile in 1991 and has been there ever since. He serves in the Copiapo, I hope I'm saying that right. I should have cleared that with him before. Copiapo community in Chile, organizing youth projects focusing on the arts, music, dance, and drama. He's also been an accomplished musician, a percussionist in particular. He taught English at the university there in Chile until his retirement in 2010. And right now, and you'll understand why when you hear his voice, he is currently recording the Baha'i writings and assisting with programming at Radio Bahà'ì Chile. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Kenton Dunbar, and he's going to tell us what he's going to tell us. So please stay on mute if you're not on there already. Hand applauses.
Thank you very much. I don't recognize the person you're talking about.
Which one? The one I read from or the one I talked about?
The one you talked about. No, that's okay. It's interesting that, you know, you were discussing the focus of these programs that you're presenting every couple of weeks. And I noticed that the focus is very much on, of course, the racist issue, of course, as the House of Justice has provided that focus for us, and the National Spiritual Assembly of the United States has also, of course, tripled the focus on that. And what it made me think of is here in Chile, we have been dealing with, actually now it's called racism. And I never thought of it as racism. It's certainly marginalism. And it's with the Mapuche Indians in the southern part of Chile, with whom I've been connected in various ways ever since 1977, when I went there as a travel teacher. And, they have risen up, much like Black Lives Matter. We have a kind of similar group called Mapuche Lives Matters. And I know that they're taking their cues from the United States, because the United States is imitated throughout Latin America, especially here in Chile. The social system, the political system, whatever the United States does, we do. But it is healthy. It is nice to see that the Mapuches are rising up. They're marching in the streets. There's only one problem. There is an extremist group that has tainted the movement for recognition of equality of the Mapuche Indians in Chile. And they are extremely destructive. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in equipment, farm equipment, transportation equipment, large trucks, farms, barns, crops, animals. And this group is a little more interested in reclaiming their land, much the way many Native Americans are and have been in the past, trying to reclaim land. And it's causing a tremendous amount of problems in our government, a lot of division, almost exactly like we have in the United States. And it's very sad in one sense to see the incredible disunity among the Mapuches themselves. Fortunately, Baha'i radio in the South has not been touched yet. I often wonder, and we all pray in this country, the Baha'is, to please protect Baha'i radio, because it is one of the only sources of spiritual enlightenment in the entire area. It now serves the entire country of Chile, of course, but for many years it was a 1,000 watt AM transmitter, and has kept the Mapuches informed as to who Baha'u'llah is, who Abdul Baha is. And I might mention one of the reasons we have had such tremendous success with the Mapuches here in Chile is we were the first group to ever come in and teach them about our religion and insist that they maintained loyalty to their customs, to their traditions, to their spiritual, their cosmological vision of the universe, to their ceremonies, especially their what they call a machitun. A machitun is a kind of spiritual healing ceremony. And we were the first group to ever allow that kind of behavior. Many other groups had gone in, many Catholics had gone in, and other evangelists, and they knew immediately when they walked in that that meant, nope, we've got to give up our traditions, we've got to give up our clothes, we've got to give up our customs, we've got to give up our dancing, and we've got to give up our music, we've got to give up our history, we've got to give up our language. And so the Baha'is have been very active for at least the last, at least 35 to 40 years, helping the Mapuches restore their linguistic traditions. And this has been a source of great joy, not only for the Mapuches, not only for the Baha'is, but interestingly enough, a source of great joy for the regional governor of the 9th region, which is Temuco. He has praised Baha'i radio because, you know, of course, it's non-commercial. So Juan who lost his cow can come to Baha'i Radio and he can get on the microphone and he can tell the whole community, I lost my cow. No other radio offers that kind of a service. It is 100% at the service of the Mapuche people, and the broadcaster is Mapuche. 80% of the language in which we transmit from that radio station is Mapuche. And if you listen to sometimes the morning broadcast, there are so many people that call in and they say, oh, thank God, you have finally gotten a radio station that will transmit in our language. Now we can hear our history, we can hear our songs, we can hear our poetry in our native language, and it is such a thrill to see the excitement of these people. So that has been one very, very exciting development in the Baha'i faith here in Chile. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Did you have a question, or you were raising your hand and I was?
Yeah, sorry. No, I didn't have a question. I was just wondering when you were going to tell us what you're going to tell us about.
I couldn't resist the temptation.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, well, let's see. Tonight, when I was asked to do this talk, Sherilyn suggested that I do something on racial justice. And I kind of hem-hawed around, and I didn't feel really prepared to do that. And then she said, okay, well, you can do whatever you want. And I said, fantastic. The first thing that comes to mind when somebody says you can do whatever you want is I go to books like The Promised Day Has Come, The World Order of Baha'u'llah. But I want to keep my presentation here tonight appropriate. One of the first things I would like to ask is, are there any seekers there tonight? I can only see, let's see, wait a minute. Gallery, good. Okay, good.
So you're basically asking if anyone here is interested in the faith, right? Some people may not know what a seeker is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Or feel themselves that way.
Anybody investigating for the first time? It looks like, well, I only have about 30 people on my screen, so I can't see.
Well, Kenton, just go ahead and why don't you do what we talked about? You said you do a brief introduction to the Baha'i faith, and then go into the quotations that you put together.
Yeah. Okay. If somebody is seeking, first of all, I'm not a preacher and I'm not a clergy member, because in the Baha'i faith, of course, we have no clergy. Nobody in this room, I think, went to seminary to become educated enough to teach the Baha'i faith. Every individual Baha'i has the honor, the privilege, the responsibility, the joy, the absolute joy of sharing these teachings with our fellow men. So this means that each individual, without a clergy, each individual is responsible for his own personal spiritual development so that he can share the teachings. Tonight, I would like to focus on just a little bit as Sherilyn mentioned, of how it is we got into such an incredibly degenerate condition socially and morally. I'm hoping that I've been known as a kind of a shock and awe, a shock and awe sharer of the spirit of the Baha'i faith. I hope I don't shock anybody too much tonight. But first of all, I guess we have to remind ourselves who Baha'u'llah is for those who are seeking, for those who are searching. Baha'u'llah to Baha'is, of course, is what we term the supreme manifestation of God, that is whose revelation is the culmination of thousands of years of prophecy, of prediction, of divine teaching that comes all the way from pre-Abraham down through Moses, Zoroaster, Krishna, Buddha, all the way to Jesus and Muhammad. And Baha'u'llah is the final prophet in that chain of divine messengers. He's not the last, but he's the final in that particular chain. Now he has opened up a new spiritual cycle in which there will be numerous other manifestations of God that will come to mankind as necessary for our spiritual and moral evolution. Probably the three main principles, just in case somebody needs to hear this, we call them the three unities: the unity of God, the unity of religion, and the unity of mankind, are the three basic building blocks upon which all of the teachings of Baha'u'llah revolve. The central objective of the Baha'i faith is the unification of mankind. Unlike many of the other prophets of God that have come down to us, Baha'u'llah is the first to, what we might say, officially and intentionally proclaim his message to the political, religious rulers of the age in which he ministered to the world. We're talking about the middle of the middle of the 19th century. We're talking a period from 1850 approximately to about 1890. And he's the first one to formally proclaim his revelation to the political and religious leaders of his time. We have to remember too that these leaders at that time in history were extremely autocratic. There was no constitutional or parliamentarian objective checks on their decision-making. They held the reins of their subjects in the palm of their hand, and they could do as they wished with them. Some of the most famous leaders, of course, as we know, Napoleon III, Pope Pius IX, Alexander Tsar of Russia, the Shah of Persia, governors, civic leaders, philosophers, princes, priests, monks, writers, thinkers, were all proclaimed to during his ministry. And I'd like to just go over a brief list of some of the things that Baha'u'llah included in his proclamation to these political and religious leaders of that particular time. One of the first things he told them that they should begin treating their subjects with justice, fairness, and equality. He asked them to reduce excessive taxation. He asked them to reduce military spending. He said to, I think it was, we see you daily increasing your expenditures and laying the burden thereof on your subject. this is not but manifest injustice. He asked them to provide for social, economic well-being of their citizens. He asked them to ensure that their citizens would have freedom of choice, especially in religious matters. He asked them to establish equality of education and allow men and women to be educated. He asked them to make education compulsory for all people. He asked them to eliminate religious intolerance and fanaticism. And we all remember what Baha'u'llah said about religious fanaticism is a flame, a devouring flame that will devour the world, and nothing can stop it. So he was emphatic that religious intolerance and fanaticism be eliminated from their societies. And he asked them to appoint governors and ministers that would treat the people fairly and not steal from them. That was rampant in this particular time in the Persian Empire. Governors, ministers were stealing from the people, aggrandizing their own palaces and their own quote unquote bank accounts. He asked them to eliminate slavery. And just as a parenthetical, he was very happy and very encouraged by Queen Victoria, who was one of the very first in Europe to eliminate the slave trade in 1865. He commended her for her sense of vision and for her forward-thinking attitude. And later, the United States would adopt the same policy. But Queen Victoria was the first. He asked them to appoint ministers, counselors, and advisors whom we could trust, that were truly interested in public service and not self-aggrandizement. Hire people that were, or appoint people that were creative, that could help the citizens become more productive and more prosperous. Root out corruption and graft. He told them that through the teachings of his revelation, mankind had entered a new stage in its potential for growth and development in all the different aspects of life. And it was time for the rulers to realize that the earth was one country and mankind its citizens. And finally, most important and probably most tragic, is that he invited all of them individually and collectively to join him in promoting and establishing the unification of humanity. And that he had a coherent, realistic, and practical plan that could make that happen. And if they were interested, he would be more than happy to share it with them and to consult with them ways and means to bring it about on the earth. These are just some of the basic elements that he proclaimed in his proclamations to the rulers of the world. The tragedy is the answer. He invited them all to let's actually what he was saying is, let's get together, work together, share together, consult together, and between you and me, we can bring the kingdom of God on earth, and we can make it a reality, not some kind of a mythical metaphor that hangs out in the sky somewhere. We can make it real. Unfortunately, the answer was a resounding no, thank you. And from the Baha'i perspective, this is the root cause of everything that we see taking place today in the world. The kings, and one of the reasons, of course, that Baha'u'llah focused so emphatically on those leaders is because he knew that because of their autocratic position, that they had the destinies of the people locked into their hands. They could do whatever they wanted with them. Baha'u'llah says about this that let's just talk about the Shah of Persia. If the Shah had accepted the revelation, he said that in 2 years, the Persian Empire would have been a total paradise. And of course, that would have leaked over into Europe, and who knows what could have happened. So anyway, I think now we would maybe go to the first slide so we can see how Shoghi Effendi articulated in his language the essence of this rejection that we are currently struggling to deal with. Well, I've got part of it here. Can everybody see it? Is my microphone on? Yeah. Can everybody see it?
Yeah, I'm working on it here. Things weren't as smooth as I wanted them to be for this. Hang on, sorry for the delay, folks. Okay, let me get you back again. There we go. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, I do have to have it open all the way first. Okay, new Zoom discovery. You have to have your screen all the way open before you go to share it, because then you're only sharing half the screen. And I had it partially open, so my apologies, friends. Let me get myself back to where we want to go.
You're good, Sister Sherlyn.
There we go. Thank you.
A little coaching there. You do a great job.
How's that? Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes, except where our picture's hanging over the side. I don't know what to do with my picture, you know.
Yeah,
I've got
how's
some
that?
over here too.
Whoops.
Looks good.
How do we
Get
get
you
those?
guys out of the way.
How do we get those off?
One thing.
Oh,
Okay.
I see that at the top, at left corner, there's a little
Yeah.
hide the thumbnail or hide thumbnail video.
Mm-hmm.
Try that. If you got I don't know what kind of, I'm using a regular laptop computer. I don't know how to use those cell
Hide
phones.
video panel.
But
Okay, it looks
go up
good.
to the top.
How's that? Okay, I think that's the best I can do. Can everyone see that now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, this
I'm
is
scroll with
from
you.
page, probably page 3 or 4. I don't have that. For some reason, I lost the exact page number. It's from The Promised Day Has Come. And Shoghi Effendi writes, how we may well ask ourselves, has the world, the object of such divine solicitude, repaid him who sacrificed his all for its sake? What manner of welcome did it accord him, and what response did his call evoke? Unmitigated indifference on the part of men of eminence and rank, unrelenting hatred shown by the ecclesiastical dignitaries of the faith from which it had sprung, Islam, the scornful derision of the people among whom it was born, the utter contempt which most of those kings and rulers who had been addressed by its author manifested towards it, the condemnations pronounced, the threats hurled, and the banishments decreed by those under whose sway it arose and first spread, the distortion to which its principles and laws were subjected by the envious and the malicious, in lands and among peoples far beyond the country of its origin. All these are but the evidences of the treatment meted out by a generation sunk in self-content, careless of its God, and oblivious of the omens, prophecies, warnings, and admonitions revealed by his messengers. So, unfortunately, there's where we stand today because of this rejection. I think I was going to, well, why don't we go ahead? I think everybody is with me on this, I hope. Why don't we just go ahead and use the next quote to, again, in 147 words, the Guardian maps out for us in details exactly what the result of that rejection has been. Now, for those of us who have not spent too much time reading The Guardian, this can be a little unnerving. It is extremely powerful. It is a shocking paragraph, probably one of the most shocking of all of his paragraphs. There is no sugar here. There's nothing coded. It is direct. It is blatant. It is stunning. But, you know, I mean, the truth is being uncovered everywhere today, thanks to the spiritually evolutionary process. But let's read it together. A tempest unprecedented in its violence, unpredictable in its course, catastrophic in its immediate effects, unimaginably glorious in its ultimate consequences, is at present sweeping the face of the earth. Its driving power is remorselessly gaining in range and momentum. Its cleansing force, however much undetected, is increasing with every passing day. Humanity, gripped in the clutches of its devastating power, is smitten by the evidences of its resistless fury. It can neither perceive its origin nor probe its significance, nor discern its outcome. Bewildered, agonized, and helpless, it watches this great and mighty wind of God invading the remotest and fairest regions of the earth, rocking its foundations, deranging its equilibrium, sundering its nations, disrupting the homes of its peoples, wasting its cities, driving into exile its kings, pulling down its bulwarks, uprooting its institutions, dimming its light, and harrowing up the souls of its inhabitants. So there is enough there to keep us going for at least 6 or 7 weeks, taking each one of those particular phrases. I would like to just focus for very briefly on just 2 of those out of that list there. One is the unimaginably glorious consequences with which I would like to conclude my my presentation, and the other is the great and mighty wind of God. I think very briefly that particular metaphor classifies, puts it in the context of a spiritual process that we are undergoing. It is not political, it is not economic, it's not cultural. It is purely a spiritual process that is a cleansing process, pushing humanity closer to its reality. We all remember where Baha'u'llah says, "My calamity is my providence. O son of man, my calamity is my providence." Outwardly, it is fire and vengeance. Inwardly, it is light and mercy. So what we're seeing is light and mercy. On the individual level, he tells us to hasten thereunto so that you may become an eternal light and an immortal spirit. Hasten in Spanish is translated as run. Run hard and run fast. I haven't matured to the point yet where I can get up enough strength to run fast toward these tribulations and these trials. But maybe that's my problem, because maybe somewhere inside I don't want to be an eternal light. I hope not. The Guardian calls this a twofold situation. It is at once a retributory calamity, and it is an act of holy and supreme discipline. So I think reading a paragraph like this could make a person very depressed, obviously. It, what we say in the old world, it pulls no punches. And, but the honesty and the clarity with which he articulates our current condition, personally is refreshing. Another saying that we have from Abdul-Baha, taking into consideration this paragraph, is all the forces of the universe in the last analysis serve the covenant. Everything that happens, every bomb that goes off, wherever it is, Palestine, Israel, the United States, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Vietnam, every one of them pushes, either directly or indirectly, the human species a little closer to that covenant, a little closer to that connection that we have with God that has been renewed down through history by all of the prophets and the messengers of God. I will leave the unimaginably glorious consequences to the conclusion. I know that the other night, I think many of us, I didn't see it, the acceptance speech of Vice President Joe Biden. I happened to tune into CNN after the speech, and oh my God, it was just glorifying the policies, the values, the vision, the energy, and I'm just, oh dear, dear, dear. And it immediately reminded me of that paragraph in the peace statement, section 1, paragraph 10, where we can see the House of Justice reminding us of the absolute futility of the old order to regroup to a point where it can restore sanity and take it off its suicidal path, that it can build the kind of institutions that can really administer to the affairs of a continually evolving humanity. Maybe we could bring that slide up, Cheryl. I think it's number 3, so we can all look at it.
Okay. And
the time has come.
Yep, give me just a second.
Okay. Yeah, this particular paragraph puts it into perspective and reaffirms, as we all know, that there is no solution to the problems that mankind is facing except acceptance of the divine program that Baha'u'llah has released into the world through his revelation.
Can you see it now, friends?
I sure can.
Okay.
The time has come when those who preach the dogmas of materialism, whether of the East or of the West, whether capitalism or socialism, must give account for their moral stewardship, or the stewardship they are presumed to exercise. Where is the new world promised by these ideologies? Where is the international peace to whose ideals they proclaim their devotion? Where are the breakthroughs into new realms of cultural achievement produced by the aggrandizement of this race, of that nation, or of a particular class? And here's the real clincher. Why is the vast majority of the world's people sinking ever deeper into hunger and wretchedness when wealth on a scale undreamed of by the pharaohs, the Caesars, or even the imperial powers of the 19th century is at the disposal of the present arbiters of human affairs? So, reaffirmed that there, communism, capitalism, republicanism, whatever kind of isms that we have out there, they just do not have the capacity to administer to the affairs of humanity in any way, shape, or form. So, which brings me to the beginning of my conclusion tonight. So what are we doing about it? What are the Baha'is, what do we have to offer? The old world can't provide any solutions. What kind of things do we have? Well, first of all, on a personal level, we have our beautiful prayers. We have just volumes of the most beautiful prayers and teachings from the beloved Bab, from Baha'u'llah, from Abdul-Baha. And for those of you lucky people who know Persian, you get to read the prayers of our beloved guardian. He didn't want us to translate his prayers into English or Spanish or Mapuche or any other language. He wanted us to learn Persian. You want to read my prayers, learn the Persian language and no problem. Every once in a while we cheat, right? We take a Persian friend to coffee and we say, come on, just give us a couple of little phrases from the Guardian's prayers, and they are beautiful. We have many Persians here in Chile. Many of them were serving at the temple before it was closed. And I would sneak Arjang Yousefi off into the back. Come on, just give me just a couple of phrases. And he was very reluctant. That's kind of disobedient. But so we have, on a personal level, to keep ourselves alive and surviving, we have our prayers and our teachings. And we have the guardian who helps us keep that sense of vision, and which helps us not get caught in the predicament of having to rely. The guardian is my antidepressant, right? The hidden words is my antidepressant. I don't need alcohol. I don't need any of those things. Get out the gleanings. There it is. Life. How could anybody be depressed reading things like, armed with the power of thy name, nothing can ever hurt me, and with thy love in my heart, all the world's afflictions can in no wise alarm me. And on the social level, we have, of course, what we term the institute process, which is really a series of activities that are designed for community building, for developing capacity, developing human resources, with the objective of creating people who are dedicated to the service of the community, to the service of the country in which they live, service to the world. This is a religion of service. You might remember in 1912 when Abdul-Baha came to the United States, he did a meeting at the University of Southern California. And it was a big meeting, of course. All of his meetings were monstrous. Standing room only, sometimes you couldn't even get in. There were so many people. And some gentleman as I remember the story, he was a little bit cocky, just a little bit kind of snotty. It was kind of around the conclusion of the presentation that Abdul-Baha had given. And he said something like, yeah, okay, tell me all about your religion. What is your religion? And Abdul-Baha simply looked at him and he said, perpetual service to humanity is my religion. And he walked off the stage. Didn't get a big philosophical, elegant, in-depth discussion, just those, 6 or 7 words. My religion is perpetual service to the world of humanity. And that's exactly what the Institute process that we call, all those activities are designed to inspire the love of service to the world in which we live.
Would you like that last quote now on the one on love from the Universal House of Justice?
Yes, why don't we put that up? I think what the Universal House of Justice wants us to do at the social level is beautifully articulated in this paragraph from the July 22nd letter to the Baha'is of the United States. I'll read it. There's a lot to talk about here. I'd like to come back to this after the conclusion, which will come up here in just a few minutes. Be patient. I hope I'm not putting anybody to sleep. Ultimately, the power to transform the world is effected by love. Love originating from relationship with the divine, love ablaze among members of a community, love extended without restriction to every human being. Dear, dear. This divine love, ignited by the word of God, is disseminated by enkindled souls through intimate conversations that create new susceptibilities in human hearts, open minds to moral persuasion, and loosen the hold of biased norms and social systems so that they can gradually take on a new form in keeping with the requirements of humanity's age of maturity. You are channels for this divine love. Let it flow through you to all who cross your path. Infuse it into every neighborhood and social space in which you move to build capacity, to canalize the society building power of Baha'u'llah's revelation. There can be no rest until the destined outcome is achieved. Well, nothing could be clearer than that. The power of love, as we know from the Tablet of Love by Abdul-Baha. Even quantum mechanics is now starting to understand that the supreme magnetic force that governs the movement of the spheres in the celestial realms is being scientifically proven, right? Scientifically proven that it is the unique force that bindeth together the diverse elements of this material world, and say spiritual, the material world, right? And is the only means by which true felicity can be experienced by humanity, both in this world and the next. So we have no excuse. The power of love is all over us. It is everywhere. Let's see, maybe you remember this. I think most of you have been through book 5, page 84, the quote from Divine Philosophy by Abdul Baha. It's very short, I'll read it. The greatest gift of man is universal love, that magnet which renders existence eternal, attracts realities, and diffuses life and infinite joy. If this love penetrates the heart of man, all the forces of the universe will be realized in him. For it is a divine power which transports him to a divine station. And here's the clincher. And he will make no progress until he is illumined thereby. Strive to increase the love power of reality, to make your hearts greater centers of attraction, to create new ideals and relationships. I get so excited, I laugh when I read these things. It just vibrates with such incredibly penetrating power. Just 2 short anecdotes and I'm finished. Many of you might remember a name, Tudor Pole. Anybody? Yeah, okay. Tudor Pole was the liaison between the Guardian, or not the Guardian at that time, between Shoghi Effendi and the Holy Land when Shoghi Effendi was studying at Cambridge University. And he wrote a book. I don't remember the date of the publishing. It must have been something like 1920, 1923, 22, right after World War I. And the name of the book is Private Doubting. And I remember this book. I don't know, some of you have been Baha'i for a while. It came through our community in Palm Springs, California, like a firestorm. Everybody had copies of it. There were at least 10 or 15 copies floating around. Everybody was reading it. In Southern California, it was so exciting. Most of us were new Baha'is at the time. And, but to make a long story short, he writes in his introduction, he says, you know, I don't know if you're going to believe what I have to tell you. I don't even know if I believe it myself. But some very strange things happened to me. I can't explain them rationally. I can't explain them intellectually. And then he goes on, he says, one night I was sitting in my study, I was meditating, I was reading, and all of a sudden I felt this very strange kind of an energy, some kind of a force. It felt kind of positive. I didn't know what it was. I felt like I was kind of between a waking state and a sleeping state. And I started moving my torso, and all of a sudden something subconsciously made me pick up a pen, and I started writing on a piece of paper that was on my desk. So what we're talking about, of course, is what I think it's known as automatic writing. The theory is that somebody from the next world wants to communicate with humanity, so they use a medium of like an individual to either write or orate or something. Anyway, long story short, he starts reading what he wrote, and one of the pages said, "My name is Private Doubting. I was a soldier in World War I. I was in battle, and all of a sudden I received a bullet in the back of my neck, and I was instantly taken out of this life. I stood over my body and didn't understand what had happened. I began to realize, I began thinking that I was dead, but I wasn't certain. Then all of a sudden, I felt a very strange spiritual kind of a presence and energy, some people call it angelic, that came to me and informed me that I had indeed been killed and that my life on earth was over and that now I was to transfer into the next phase and please follow me, so to speak. So he gets himself into a condition where he's fairly comfortable, and this angelic energy begins to tell him what happened. You are dead. You're now going to progress into other worlds. However, you're a little bit, let's see, you're a little bit weak spiritually, so you have to start here at the beginning, start your development. There was a prophet of God named Baha'u'llah, incredible, huh? Baha'u'llah, that appeared in the world and revealed his revelation. And if you had been able to get to that, you would be on a much higher plane. This is all in the book if you ever read it. And then he says, Private Doubting says to Tudor Pole, I was a mathematics teacher. I was an academic. I had a very fine reputation. I was very well respected. I was an excellent teacher. People came to my classes from all over London. But that here means absolutely nothing. If you don't love here, you are paralyzed. The only thing that moves anything in this sphere of existence is love. And if I had the opportunity to come back to Earth and live, I would spend my entire life loving people.
Thank you, Kenton. That is wonderful. Thank you so much. It was a very interesting story. I much appreciate your sharing with us your insights on this. People are clapping, you know, we get the silent clapping in here. So folks, let's take a minute and digest some of that and start with questions. I've got 2 screens, so that means I need to ask you to put your questions in the chat room or raise your hand in the participant section, and then I can call on you. Or you can just put your name in the chat room and then I'll know you have a question and I'll call you and we can go from there. Okay, Berdina. Berdina's got her hand up there. Berdina, do you want to come off mute and ask your question, please?
I don't have a question. I was just practicing with the reactions because I don't know how to use the chat.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a thumbs up, positive reaction.
Yes.
Good. We're all learning this as we go along, getting a little better every day, each time. Okay.
Anybody know how do I get that thing off there?
I'm not sure. Probably click it again, wherever you clicked it. Yep, it's gone now. It's gone.
Thank you.
Good. You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome.
Sherilyn, this
Yes.
is Gwen.
Yes.
In the chat box, you have a question for Kenton. It says, could you please repeat the reference for the divine philosophy quote from book 5?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't see that. Awesome. Yeah. That was from Marcia and Ken Berry. So Kenton, can you repeat the reference for the divine philosophy book from, I'm sorry, the divine philosophy quote that you referenced as being in Ruhi book 5?
Yeah, Ruhi book 5.
Yeah.
Page 84. And this is a quote from Divine Philosophy by Abdul Baha. Now, Divine Philosophy has been out of print for at least 80 years, right? I haven't seen a copy of Divine Philosophy in I think we have one here in Chile. Reed Chandler had a copy in his library, and before he died, he gave his books to Farbash Yousefi in Santiago, but that's all I have. That's all I have here.
Thank you. We have some other questions here that have come in. Can we get the name of the book and the author? That's from Bud Scott. Bud, I'm assuming you're talking about the book that Kenton was just referring to. Is that right? Do you want to come on and clarify?
Yeah, I wanted the private dialing book.
Okay, the private dialing book.
It's interesting. I don't know. I have a feeling that book is way out of print. Interesting. I have a friend of mine down in Concepcion in the southern part of Chile that 2 weeks ago we were discussing life after death, and he said, "Have I ever read Private Doubting by Tudor Pole?" I said, "What? How did you get that book?" It's not in Spanish. It was never translated, but he's an excellent English speaker. He's an English teacher. In fact, he lived in the United States for a while. So you can find a copy of it. Who's publishing it? I have no idea. I don't think, let's see, George Ronald wasn't even in existence at the time.
All right. We have some information in the chat room about that now that's come through. First, Divine Philosophy is available as part of the Ocean app. So those of you that have Ocean on your computers, it does have that collection of writings titled The Divine Philosophy in it. So back to Private Doubting, from Roseville, LSA, whoever you are, we didn't have a name for you there. Private Doubting is on Amazon for $5.99 for Kindle and $14.99 in paperback. So it's still quite accessible to anyone who's interested in that. James and Sue Manners, I think you guys had a question, right? You had come off mute, please.
James and Sue Manners, Allahu Akbar.
You're still on mute, guys.
I sent that link. It's okay. You've got the link for Amazon. I send it to both Sherilyn and Kenton also. So you've got it on Messenger.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Long time no see.
Long time. Great to see you.
You guys know each other. Wow.
Yeah, we were in Taiwan together.
Get out. Okay. The world is so small. I tell you, the world is so small, isn't it? That's awesome. And Bud Scott has also given us a link in Baha'i Library to Private Doubting as well.
Good.
That's also in the Baha'i Library online.
Okay, and Divine Philosophy, by the way, is they're the Pilgrim Notes of Isabel Chamberlain, or what was her name? Yeah, Isabel Fraser Chamberlain. And it's one of the first people who really wrote down what she heard from what the master spoke, but they are Pilgrim Notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I wanted to share a thought, on some of the information that Kenton shared with us today. And that is with respect to the sequence of events where Baha'u'llah made his proclamations, to these kings and queens of the world, and they rejected him. And I believe, and I'm opening this up for discussion, but when we look at religious history, for all of the known manifestations or prophets of God that have appeared, like Christ and Muhammad and Moses and Abraham, for example, I'm not mentioning all of them, but that's many of them. A similar occurrence has happened. And in each of those instances, the society in which they appeared just collapsed. It has collapsed. And so this is part of, I would suggest, part of that cyclical life cycle that religion has in this world, where God has kept his promise to renew his covenant with us, to never leave us without guidance. A new religion, not really new in a sense, because in a way it's a continuation of the same religion from the one God. The spiritual principles are the same, it's just the social laws that have changed. But those basic spiritual principles are renewed. Social laws are formed commensurate with the state of maturity of society at that time. Really, not the state of maturity, but where society needs to go to, just as we look at ourselves. Take racism, for example. We need to get rid of it. We're not fully mature yet as a society until that is taken care of. But so we see this, and then over a period of time, the Baha'i dispensation will eventually, or the dispensation of Baha'u'llah, will eventually decline in strength. Every religion has its beginning, its apex and zenith and declination, and then another one comes after it because God is constantly renewing that message, his message to us, and not abandoning humanity as we proceed along in our spiritual growth, in this world. Comments on that, or do folks see those connections there, or am I just amiss? Or some elaborations, clarifications? Thank you, Berdina. I got a thumbs up from Berdina.
Abraham had Nimrod.
Yes.
Moses had Pharaoh. Jesus had Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who Muhammad had. I don't know if he had a particular specific one individual.
Yeah.
He had thousands of tribal members in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
The pagans who fought and fought. Hey, we have hundreds of gods. What do we need just one God for? What do we have to give up all our gods for just one God?
The rulers in Mecca were his protagonists because the rulers in Mecca, where they did have all the idols.
Yeah.
And Mecca was at the crossroads where all people came and wouldn't fight so they could trade, and the people in Mecca were very wealthy who cared for this. So those were basically his enemies.
Yeah. And the Bab had Muhammad Shah, and Baha'u'llah had Nasiruddin Shah.
Right.
So everybody gets their point of conflict.
Mm-hmm. And let's see here, we have another comment in here, which says, Queen Victoria was the only person who said, if it is of God, it will endure, and so her kingdom continues. And that was her response to the tablet or tablets that Baha'u'llah had addressed to her specifically.
Yes.
I believe that's our friend Carol Campbell, under Meaningful Conversations. That's her title there.
Yeah, this is Linda. I facilitated this morning and somehow I can't get off
Linda,
and can't get the Meaningful Conversations off. So
sorry. Thank you, Linda.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. There was something else that you mentioned, Kenton, and that was that our current ills are all spiritual, but yet we see them played out socially, politically, economically, environmentally, in every sphere, of human activity. And so I think it's good to make that distinction that I think you alluded to, which is that the root cause is the spiritual negligence, but it's played out in those arenas. And that's where we see it the most. That's what most people recognize, but don't see the spiritual underlying defaults there, I guess you could say.
The center.
Carolyn, were you going to say something?
Well, that's why sometimes we get accused of not really being interested in what is happening in the world. Why aren't we participating more in those external, activities that are fighting against hate, racism, bigotry, ignorance, superstition, fear? We work on the level of the heart. Fortunately, we can work on all levels. We work at every level in our society. But principally, we're working on the heart because there's where the environmental problems lie. There's where 412 particles per cubic centimeter of carbon dioxide exists in the atmosphere. That's where the wildfires that are burning California to the ground, that's where those all come from. That spiritual vacuum,
right?
That humanity has failed to fill with spiritual truth. So, if I could just do one final thing here on love.
Okay, and could we pause just for a second? I think Carolyn McCormick wanted to make a comment here. She was kind of waiting.
Good, do it.
Well, I was gonna bring up the mysterious concept of love. And so, yeah, I could just be the segue to his next thought.
Okay. Wonderful.
I think that it's interesting in this time that we're kind of isolated in society. Each of us are kind of left by ourselves. And yet we're supposed to be working in groups, but somehow we are all isolated right now. And what are we learning from that? And I really enjoyed your presentation, and I'm glad you got it all out there. Thanks to our moderator keeping you on the track. We could go so many ways, but I really appreciated it. And I've been struggling about trying to figure out how do I love God, and I'm having the hardest time with that. But where I feel the love for God most is when I'm with other Baha'is, or even now. I saw on Facebook one black fellow said he thought the best way we white people could help, because we are the sclera of the eyeball. You know, we're the protection. We're just the protection, and then the spirit goes in and out the pupil, and the pupil is empty. And so we can feel okay if we're empty. You know, if we're gonna all be like the pupil of the eye, you know, because we really are pretty much the same, but we just have this workshop we're in to try to figure it all out. That's all.
Thank you.
I'm lost in my own thoughts.
Thank you, Carol. Just quick question. What workshop is that you're participating in?
The Baha'i workshop.
Oh, there's a bunch of those going on. Where is it?
I've been in this Baha'i workshop for 45 years. I don't find it isolated to one place.
Oh, that big one. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Kenton?
Yeah, I just wanted to make reference here to an event that happened about 4 or 5 nights ago in North Pasadena, Southern California. I think some of you have read this. I'm going to make it very brief. Evidently, there was a group of Black people that were congregated in a public park in the evening. They were there together specifically to share stories, music, food, to share the pain and frustration about what they're experiencing, of course. And of course, there was some anger. There was absolutely no violence. It was a peaceful assembly, totally. And all of a sudden, somebody, I guess, got frightened and called the police. And about 10 minutes later, there was a helicopter above. There were like 6 or 7 patrol cars full of police. Police jumped out and told all of the people they have to get out of the park. So the people peacefully packed up, got their stuff together, walked across the street, tried to get settled in some other location, and the police said you can't be there either. And somebody got frightened. This will come out in the news probably in the next couple of days. Some 32-year-old man who was the father of a little boy got frightened, panicked, and started running. And he got shot in the back, and he is now a dead man. And that's the setup. And the Christian minister who wrote this particular article, my brother sent it to me. My brother is an ordained Lutheran minister, and I think it's he's in Colorado. He sent it to me, and I read it, and it blew me away. But the writer, a Christian minister, he closes with a series of questions. And I want to read, it's very short, about 3 or 4 lines here. After that incident, he says, do we need better accountability? That would be nice. Do we need a system of civilian oversight? That would be very nice. Do we need better body cams? That would be nice. Do we need better police training and education? That also would be nice. But those are not what we really need. What we need is for white America to be blinded by the power of God, by the power of love. We need a complete revolutionary transformation. To me, the only word that's left out of there is the word black, because we know that the Guardian makes it very clear that this is a responsibility of both the black and the white race, not just one or the other. They both need to put their effort in this to clean this up. In fact, maybe it would be even better. What we need is a revolution for everybody, the entire human race, to be blinded by God and blinded by the power of love. It seems we just haven't learned. I mean, every prophet of God, from Abraham all the way down to Baha'u'llah, we've got 6,000 or 7,000 years of divine revelation that has been coming to this planet. And at the center of every revelation has been love. Love has been the center of every one of them. In Christ's revelation, of course, it was emphatic, but we still have not learned it. And here we have, in the year 2020, the Universal House of Justice, our supreme body, is reminding us again, we have to learn to love. If we don't learn to love, we're not going to progress. We're not ever going to make it. And to close totally here, if we learn to love, and if we learn to apply the spirit of love, then these are some of the unimaginably glorious consequences that will result from that learning experience. National rivalries, hatreds, and intrigues will cease. and racial animosity and prejudice will be replaced by racial amity, understanding. The causes of religious strife will be permanently removed. Economic barriers and restrictions will be completely abolished. The inordinate distinction between classes will be obliterated. Destitution on the one hand, gross accumulation of ownership on the other will disappear. The enormous energy dissipated and wasted on war will be consecrated to such ends as will extend the range of human inventions and technical development, to the increase of the productivity of mankind, to the extermination of disease, to the extension of scientific research, to the raising of the standard of physical health, to the sharpening and refinement of the human brain, to the exploitation of the unused and unsuspected resources of the planet, to the prolongation of human life, and to the furtherance of any other agency that can stimulate the intellectual, the moral, and the spiritual life of the entire human race. I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen. You have been a magnificent audience. Thank you for your patience and my babbling.
Okay, thank you, Kenton, very much. We have a couple more questions, comments. First, Isaac and then Gwen. Isaac asked, Isaac, could you repeat what it is you're asked, or your comment is that you put in the chat group?
What I was trying to say was, first of all, I really like the presentation. It was very inspiring.
You're very kind.
But there was one thing in the same book, The Promised Day is Come, Shoghi Effendi told us to acknowledge its necessity. Acknowledge its necessity and pray fervently for its mitigation. So he told us what you have been saying, that the tempest, when you read about the tempest, that this mighty wind of God is blowing, it has been blowing ever since. So it will bring a lot of problems. So Shoghi Effendi said that acknowledge the necessity of this remedy. But also he told us to pray fervently for its mitigation. So we have two jobs. That's the only thing I want to say.
Mm-hmm. And Isaac, pray fervently for the mitigation of what?
No, because
the severity.
The severity of this,
okay.
the calamity that will follow because of this.
Oh, okay, thank you.
This actually is not my word. This is exactly the words of Shoghi Effendi in the same book. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Gwen, are you still there? You are.
Yes, dear, I'm still here. It's just that it all boiled down to, and the last, and I was very happy to see it get there, to love.
Mm-hmm.
You can legislate all you want to, but you're never going to get anything done if it doesn't come from the heart. And there's an old saying, and I think it's everywhere, it's that the longest way the shortest way for something is from the heart to the mind. The longest way is from the mind to the heart. When the heart is touched, that's when we'll start seeing change. And Abdu'l-Baha, early in the pilgrims' visits with him, he said, wherever or whatever is done with love is never any trouble, and there is always time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's what the Baha'is are really here to do, is bring people into that circle of love.
Good.
Love for God and love for their fellow man.
Yeah.
And love for all of the things that make this worldly existence worth our living and
Mhm.
promoting, bringing up children and education and science and taking care of other people. So this is the real job of the Baha'is, is to bring mankind out of its darkest hours into that heavenly love that will ultimately be the kingdom
Mhm.
on earth.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Gwen.
You are channels for this divine love. Let it flow through you to all who cross your path. Infuse it into every neighborhood and every social space in which you move to build capacity and canalize the society building power of Baha'u'llah's revelation. There can be no rest until the destined outcome is achieved.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's learning to love. There are so many ways to love, but there's another side to that. There's always two sides to the coin, right? Are you lovable? To be open to love. Are you open to receive it? Sometimes, and I think I've been one of these people at one time or another, and on occasion, maybe I still am. You know, you just love, 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 do, but you don't accept. No, 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 it's okay. I can, no, I don't need any help. It's okay, right? But are we open to being loved and allowing others to love us? That I believe that's a part of the totality of love. It's not just giving out from ourselves, but it's also being able to receive it from those around us as well.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Yes,
Hi,
Chris.
Hi, Dad.
Where?
What did you say? Hi, Dad?
Yeah, hi, Dad.
Okay.
Kenton.
Oh, dear. My beautiful daughter is there somewhere, right?
Oh, my gosh. Okay. She's sitting
Is that
on the
you down there?
floor.
Pardon? Page
Yeah.
one.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Sandy.
Fantastic.
Hi, Barbara. Sorry, I just, because I couldn't figure out how to, I've done it before, but I could not figure out how to get the hand to raise. I couldn't find the hand raising symbol. So, yeah, I just wanted to say I think because, Sherilyn, we're raised in a culture that doesn't, the culture, we internalize the culture, unfortunately, and it doesn't really support the idea of receiving.
Mm-hmm.
It supports the idea of give, in a certain sense.
Yes.
Because we're terrified. I think we're terrified to receive a lot of the time because what that then means.
Right. You're vulnerable.
Yeah.
You're open.
Yeah.
You're open. But the wonderful thing about all of this and in these kinds of conversations is that one way to put concisely what it is we're ultimately achieving, what it is we're ultimately working on every day, is creating a new culture. We are in the process of creating a new culture. We may not see it, recognize it. It's going to evolve and morph and transition and do all these phenomenal, strange things, phenomenal and strange, seemingly things, perhaps to some of us. But that's what we're doing. When we look at that glorious outcome, the kingdom of heaven on earth, right? Creating that requires a totally new culture in every respect, in every single aspect of our lives. And I suppose that's why the House encourages us to look at racism and injustice and how it appears in every aspect of our lives, because it is so important that we identify it and root it out and assist others in a loving way in doing the same.
I got to say this, Sherilyn, that the passage that Kento read, that last paragraph talking about the love and us being channels, speaks to the fact that, you know, the hollow reed prayer that you have me say, and the reason why it means so much to me is because I recognize the fact that as a pupil of the eye, a person of color who's been in this country and been subject to the oppressive elements, the stifling, you know, atmosphere that makes it hard to breathe sometimes as a Black man. It makes it hard to see a way clear into anything that could be remotely seen as beautiful in this space. But you got to forgive those who've done that. I was born into this world, like Tupac, the rapper, said, I was given this world, I didn't make it. But the idea that, you know, he expressed was that he may not be able to be the fashioner of the old world, but he hoped to spark the mind of the world to come. And I hope to be that force as well. I've got children, you know, my children are in their youth, and I have a son that sits before me that is in the junior youth age group. And I want to make sure I am a careful, competent steward to help him cultivate his spiritual powers during his time between the ages of 12 and 15. So I'm so grateful for coming into contact with the information that is this beautiful community of Baha'is, because it has shown me some things that without it, you know, we'd have been, you know, I was reaching for political answers, and everything that we've been talking about here, everything that you presented, Kento, was things that the rest of the people in my community are still fumbling about and looking for. They are still looking at the so-called elected leaders, both national and local, and the answers aren't there. They're looking at the clergy that they've been so, you know, indoctrinated with the concepts and ideas of the dogmatic practices that have been presented to them, and they look to the clergy as leaders, and these guys don't have the power to do anything to help them solve the problems. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we each have to, I know personally, that to remove the pith of self, like who I am and who I see myself to be. I'm in a few study circles and devotional gatherings on Zoom, and I really do love Zoom and appreciate the power that it's given me to interact with so many people. And one family, the OJ's family, Judy and her daughter Nita were on here earlier. And in a session with Judy, we were talking about the fact that the heart is like a reflection, like a mirror. And in the sense of self, as a matter of fact, it was while I was in the session in book 5 for the junior youth group development that we were talking about the mirror. And it came to me that we tend to, as human beings, write an accomplishment or an attribute of our own on our mirror, in our heart and our mind. And by doing so, we clutter the mirror with all of this stuff that is ourselves. And we got to consciously wipe the mirror clean, you know, to allow for the divine love to shine through and reflect from us. So I just wanted to share that piece, Sherilyn, to make sure that all of the friends understand that it may be complicated, but actually it's simple. It's as simple as wiping the mirror clean.
Sometimes that's true. I know when I first started reading the writings, and my book was Baha'i World Faith, and I'm reading this, I'm going like, oh, I'm feeling this, but I don't understand a word, you know, that I'm reading, but I'm just feeling it. And then I realized I was making it too hard. It was just so simple and clear, you know, the messages in there, you know, from Abdul Baha in particular. So yeah, sometimes we do make things harder because we think they're supposed to be hard. And maybe it's, as you said, Milton, getting a little bit of that pith of self out of the way, that ego, what the mind thinks, getting that out of the way and letting your spirit create that pure channel, right, through which thy love may flow on to others. Yeah, definitely. I want to ask Gwen, because I know you, Milton, and someone else talked about Zoom and how great it is that it's here. Gwen, would you retell your story about how Baha'u'llah has always made sure the faith has what it needs when it needs it? That was just wonderful.
Well, the first instance that I read of that was in Mr. Adib Tahirzade's books.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you know, the Guardian grew up knowing the writings, and he had this wonderful photographic memory. Whenever he needed anything, he could find it in the writings himself. But when the House of Justice was elected, you had 9 individuals who needed to consult as a body. And they would also need access to the writings. So that was in 1963. And if you remember your technological history, it was in the early 60s when copy machines became, you found them everywhere, not mimeographs anymore. You didn't have to sit but copy machines. And certain developments throughout the world have increased and come into being as the faith needed them. Another instance was just recently given in the Sacred Stairway book written by Michael Day, which talks about constructing the terraces on Mount Carmel. These terraces go up the mountain from sea level to the top of Mount Carmel. And as they were being constructed, they didn't do one at a time, but they needed to do different stages of construction on different levels. And he said, can you imagine when we first began, if I needed to speak to someone on level 17 and I was on level 5, I would have to climb all those terraces in order to reach that person. He said, but lo and behold, what happened? Here came cell phones. So whenever the faith needs something, and it's like now with Zoom, we're no longer able to gather together in our meetings, to have firesides, to have our devotional gatherings, to have our children's classes, to have our study circles. What happened? Well, we had this lovely little program called Zoom that's free, Lord, it's free. So again, we're just seeing this manifestation of the Spirit. Whenever the faith needs something, it's made available, and the world benefits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my story.
Thank you so much, Gwen. That was wonderful. Meaningful conversations.
Yeah, Linda.
Linda.
I got to tag one to that, Gwen, because I see that in my own life and our friends, that whenever we step out in love of Baha'u'llah, and you know, us Nats, we don't know what the heck we're doing, but we have good intentions and we prepare ourselves the best we can and then step out. And it's like Baha'u'llah just opens the doors when we make the move, but we've got to make the move. So I love it. I love your story. Thank you.
Yeah. Judy?
Shirley,
yeah.
Sorry.
Let me get Judy and then Angelita. I'm so glad you both are here. It's wonderful you're here. Judy,
thank you.
Hi. I was excited to hear from Kenton because I used to serve in Chile at the radio station there, and I'm sure we must have crossed paths, but I was really young, and but the Mapuche people were such a wonderful example, and I felt so much love from them. And I think they would embrace people with such humility and love. And I think as long as you returned that, you'd truly become one of their family members. And so I just remembered that, and I was really excited to see Kento with the little alawa pie. Recognize that that looks like it's at the radio station, or I remember that, and I just wanted him to please. I don't know if Rufina is still around. She was like my Mapuche sister, but if she's there, please send her my love from Judy. She knows who I am, and anyone else who's still there. But thank you so much for sharing. You're very lucky to be in Temuco in that area.
I'm really not in Temuco. I'm in Copiapo, up in the northern part of Chile. I was in Temuco from 77 to 80, and that's when I got my experience with the Mapuches, which was exactly as you said. Loving, sweet, gentle, pure hearts. That's why so many of them came into the faith. You know, Catherine Meyer, Knight of Baha'u'llah, was one of the very first travel teachers to the Mapuche zone back in 1962. that process started. And slowly it evolved up to 1969, 1970. And then when Reed Chandler went down, it had another kick, another up, and there were literally thousands of people all coming into the faith at the same time. 200 and 300 people a day were coming into the faith, all sweet, lovely souls. And it was such a bounty to be able to participate in that process.
Yeah.
I learned so many things from the Mapuches. One of the things I learned is silence. Just be silent. Let the silence carry the spirit. Don't worry. You know, the gringos go in and the first thing we want to do is start blah, 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 right? You know, God is one, man is one, and all the religions are one. Come on, what do you? No. Just relax. Give it some time. I traveled with Mapuche travel teachers, and that's where I learned that. We go in, we would sit down. Nobody said a word. And for gringos, my God, that's brain cancer. We're going to do something. No, let's talk. Let's get these people going. No, just relax. 15 minutes of sitting at the table, dead silence. And then finally the woman said, Mani Mani Penyi, which is hello in Maputungu, which is the Mapuche language. And then very slowly and very sweetly, the conversation starts. Takes a long time. Then there's some tea and there's a little bit of bread. And then about 2 hours later, you finally hear the word Baha'u'llah. And when you hear it, it is so gorgeous because, oh, Baha'u'llah. Yes, Baha'u'llah loves you. He loves your culture. He loves your language. He loves your traditions. He loves your dancing. He loves your music. He loves your drum, the kultrun. He loves your rhythms. Mapuche, the word means earth people. He loves that you have made a connection with the earth and you still have the courage to keep that connection. So the experience today is still just as positive. And Baha'i Radio is just magnificent what's happening because of it being online now.
Yes.
People are calling in from everywhere, sharing their prayers, sharing their stories, sharing their music. Some of the Chileans are finally starting to learn how to count at least from 1 to 10 in Mapuche. Most Chileans don't even, you know, Kini epu kula meli kechukayu reli pura ajemari. And sometimes I use that when I'm teaching minors up here English, and I say that and they all look at me and they go, what are you doing? You're supposed to be teaching English. I said, don't you know even how to count from 1 to 10 in the native language of the original people that inhabited this land? And they went, oh my God, how embarrassing. We need a gringo to come from the United States to teach us Mapuche.
Thank you, Kenton. Now it's after 9:30. Angelita has a question or a comment which we're going to get to, but I just want to say that Kenton has agreed to stay on if people would like to talk more about his experiences in Chile and the Mapuches and Taiwan and South Korea, all of that. We'll certainly keep this line open for that. But our quote unquote scheduled time, you know, has ended. And in that vein, I just have one announcement to make very briefly, and then we'll go to Angelita, is that our next presentation is August 29th. That's next Saturday. It's an encore presentation by Carol Campbell on unhealing racism and deconstructing whiteness. It was so well received. I wasn't happy with the recording, so she's agreed to do it again, and we're going to record it, so we'll be available on YouTube for people that you can use, you know, however you want. So I just wanted to share that. The Zoom link information will go out probably tomorrow. So having said that, please, Angelita.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sherilyn. Thank you.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Aloha. I wanted to extend the comment and the realization that a few speakers made about 10 minutes ago regarding Zoom and how we're being presented in this pandemic to step up. Because now with Zoom, we're easily going through multiple time zones. We can be working locally. We have our immediate Baha'i friends, seekers, but you put something up on Facebook and lo and behold, you have people from all over.
Right.
And then you start realizing, hey, they're not just in the East Coast or in the Midwest, but even internationally. And I just think that is so organic, and it's really exciting because many of us have to be sheltered in, but we still can start reaching out through Zoom meetings, conferences, personal contacts even. We still can do it. And I just hope this energy will not lessen when we eventually get a vaccine for coronavirus. This is stepping it up, as Shoghi Effendi has told us to do in 1938.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're so right. It's very exciting. I was sharing with Jan, I think maybe Jan might have left already, but I was sharing with my good friend Jan Shadikian that, gee whiz, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll have a culture shock when Zoom is gone, right? You know, when we go back to normal, because I don't, you know, I'm retired. I don't travel very well and, or very often. So this is like totally opened the world up for me in so many ways in terms of service and just everything. So yeah, it is a wonderful thing, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, we have to make sure that we utilize this as much as we possibly can. And I can say I've certainly made many new friends, and yeah, it's just been a wonderful thing. So are there any other comments or questions? Christine over there. I see Christine and then Barbara. So Christine and then Barbara.
Okay, yeah, real quick. I'm just curious, Dad, did you know, or does everybody know that that paragraph about the tempest is the opening paragraph of Promised Day Has Come? What are you doing?
He's holding up Promised Day Has Come.
Oh, I know, but I didn't hear you say anything about that. Did you say something about that, or it just was, I didn't know. But
you might be right. I might not have cited the quote. I think I just said Shoghi Effendi, Promised Day Has Come, but I don't think I gave the page.
No, I know. And so when you said you were talking about the page, I thought, well, is it 3 or 4? And then I just opened up my Promised Day Has Come, and I went, son of a gun, it is the opening paragraph of Promised Day Has Come, a tempest, unprecedented. I mean, just get right to the heart of the matter, right?
Yeah. What I was referring to on page 3 or 4, which now I see is on 5, was the very first quote I read about how may we well ask ourselves, has the world, the object of the divine solicitude, repaid him? That's page 5. And I think I said page 3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah, and the other quick thing I just wanted to mention is in that paragraph, I just am so taken by that one sentence where it talks about being smitten with the fury or something like that. And I just think that that wording is so interesting, to think that humanity is smitten with the energies that are happening. The dark, maybe it's smitten with the darkness, maybe it's just smitten with the ugliness. I don't know how to really totally interpret it, but I just think it's really evocative.
Yeah, humanity, gripped in the clutches of its devastating power, is smitten by the evidences of its resistless fury. And then you can't understand it, don't know what it's doing, don't know the significance of it. You know, the word smitten, of course, is smashed.
Oh.
Smashed. That's the synonym.
Oh,
So
I thought more like kind of like when we use smitten, I think of it like taken with kind of falling in love almost.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when we fall in love, right? We get smashed.
Well, that goes back to what Milton was telling us. Maybe that's a good thing, would become hollow reeds. And I think he made, thank God the pupil of the eye gave us some insight. Most of us are working in blind corners, or, our hearts are blind, but Milton showed us, gave us a prayer and sang us a prayer, and also gave us some commentary on how, so many of us who are in our heads, myself included, how to open up our hearts, and then to become hollow reeds, and once work on becoming hollow reed, and be careful not to put any marks up on the mirror after you wash it off a little bit. I get that right, Milton?
Yes, indeed, you got it.
Thank you, brother. Okay.
Okay, Barbara's been waiting with a question or a comment. Barbara? Thank you, Berdina.
Well, it's a perfect segue from what Berdina was saying about from the head to the heart and the understanding of things. I'm on a Facebook group, and it's called Tri-Community Activists, and they did a Black Lives Matter parade, and it kind of grew from there, a lot of things happening. And so I had a Facebook conversation with one of the founders of the group, and he's interested in the Baha'i faith and so on and so forth. But he asked me, he said, what does the Baha'i faith have to offer towards the reduction of structural racism? And I was gobsmacked. It was such an intellectual question. I couldn't make sense of it. And I was a bit dumbfounded and didn't know how to come back. It took me 2 days to come to the realization that everything about the Baha'i faith is against structural racism and about removing that. And of course, at the core of it is love. So that's all I have to say. It's so good to see Kenton and Christine and Ruby. It's so good to see you. And Sherilyn, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my path. It's my pleasure. And it's wonderful to see you guys connect again. We had a couple of comments. Ormond and Carmela said, thank you, Kento, for your insights and love for the faith and serving others. Thank you again. Isaac said, thanks for the wonderful presentation. And I am getting him on the mailing list along with, I believe he's gone now. Oh, I missed Sandy Lee. Sandy, I'm adding you on too. Yeah, I'll go back through that. Michael Heister's here. Is he? Yes, there he is. I haven't heard this man's voice in a long time. Michael, would you like to say hello or something else while you're here with us?
Hello or something else while you're here with us.
Oh, that's typical Mike Heister for you. Classic.
Hi, Mike.
Kenton, alawapa.
Alawapa. Great to see you,
That's
man.
my boy.
Yeah, great to see you.
Yep.
Like on the other side of the equator.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I'm in the town where those 33 miners were underground, trapped for 69 days.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what Copiapo is now famous for. That, in fact, I think they made a movie called 33.
Yep, excellent movie.
Yeah, that mine is about 10 kilometers from my house.
My name is Margot. My
I don't know if you can hear her. Can you hear her?
Yes. Hi,
Yeah, I
Margot.
can hear she sounds
Hi,
lovely.
Margot. Welcome.
so basically, mine. I haven't introduced myself yet.
Did she say I haven't interviewed as an adult?
No,
yet?
I
Did hear
haven't
that right?
introduced myself yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll listen. We're going to listen. Go ahead,
If
Margot.
you want to go ahead. Oh,
We'll listen.
So basically, my name is Margot. My full name is Margot Tahare Heister. I'm 7 years old.
Very nice. Is that your full introduction?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we can say we're all very happy to meet you.
And she's already gone.
Of course.
How
all 7-year-olds do. She's a sweetie. Are you up in Big Bear, Michael?
We are in Big Bear City in an area called Peter Pan. Believe it or not, the neighborhood called Peter Pan. And but we're on Anita, and so we didn't get one of the coolest names like Hook or Peter. So I would have preferred to be on Hook, but you know the house was where the house was.
Sure. Well, it's good to see you again. Very good to see you. It's been many years. Many years.
Been a minute.
Oh, and Orman is still here. That's wonderful. Okay, great.
Does your daughter speak Chinese?
Oh, just very briefly, she is 100% fluent in Mandarin and English, just as your kids are 100% fluent in Spanish and English. And it's just a practical thing on her part because I don't really speak Chinese. So if she wants anything from me, she's going to have to speak English. And the mother is the first educator of the child. And we were in China until February, and we hope to be back in China soon. But you know, we just need a couple of world leaders to show a little more love for each other.
No cierto, yeah.
And so we hope to be back in China because that's where we feel like we're more useful.
Yeah. Tell us, well, so you mean those love letters that were going back and forth? Oh, no, that was with Korea. That was in China. My mistake, sorry. Had my countries mixed up. Let's see here. Someone else had a comment. Pergia said, thank you ever so much. This has been extremely valuable service. And from Nasim, a wonderful meeting. Sorry, I have to leave. She has a devotion right after this one. She's there in California. Thank you all and good night. Another thank you from Rebecca Deerwater. And okay, Michael answered the question. Someone wanted to know if you were related to Hooper.
No, but if you want to think so, that's okay.
Every
little bit helps.
Hey, you're related to Chris. I mean, what more do you need?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
She's the love of my life.
So can you post the link of how we connect for next week?
Oh, yes. I don't have it right this minute. What I do is I send it out by email to everyone, and it also goes up on Facebook. So people can go there and indicate their interest in going or attending. That helps us know if we'll have, enough Zoom capacity for the meeting.
What is the Facebook name?
Oh, it's a Racial Healing, Racial Justice Baha'i series.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, so Carolyn, I really appreciated your comments about love. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your journey or?
Are you talking to me?
I'm a pioneer. I was a baby of the 9-year plan when I became a Baha'i, so it's been over.
Could you speak up? I'm sorry, we can't hear you. Thank you.
I'm a baby of the 9-year plan. When a lot of mass teaching was going on, I was from Iowa then. And now I'm about an hour and a half from Lewis Gregory Institute and the radio station there. And this is where I've been since I came here about 46 years ago. And in Lumberton, North Carolina, it's a triracial county. They call it the Dark County. There was a lot of mass teaching here. When I married a local person, I knew I'd be here a long time. But the thing I've noticed from being here, I grew up in an all-white community, and then when I moved here, it was triracial, black, white, and Indian. And the Indians look different here. They're more interracial. And but they all have a distinct look after you've been here a while, you know.
Right.
And the culture is a little different, and it's very sweet. But I've noticed in my efforts and my work that the relationship between Black and white can be so very, very special. And it's almost overwhelming. And I'm sure it has to do with the spirit and our work.
Yeah.
Can't find words for it. But I feel alone a lot, but it seems like now that I'm kind of hunkered down in my house most of the time and just occasionally going to the office, I'm less alone. It is so strange to me, so very strange. And I was going to say about love. In my family, there's 5 kids, and we're split pretty much politically, but we all have ways of communication, and there are certain things that are off limits, just like in the Baha'is, we're not supposed to talk politics. And
right.
But I decided that I needed to talk with one at a time, because one posted about they were fearful of this effort to change the way we teach history. And so I put a question, are we afraid of the truth? Are we afraid of our possibility of change? Are we afraid? And my brother said more in response to that than I've heard almost all my life from him. So I don't know what, but I think that came from the comment that a Black person said, if you want to do something, teach the racists in your family. So
yeah,
no, that's what I started to do, and I right away felt the confirmations. Sometimes it seems like we have to wait a long time for confirmations.
Yeah.
But other times they come so easy. But thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. What's the tribe down there where you are? Is it Cherokee?
No, Lumbee.
Lumbee.
Or Tuscarora. Depends on where you are
Tuscarora.
politically.
Okay, sure.
But anyway, it turned out that we never got pregnant, my husband and I. We were married 45 years.
Oh, wow.
But we ended up adopting a child that turned out to be biracial, Black and white together. And then later, I was sharing with a woman, an Indian woman, that there was a place for her baby if she didn't want the baby. She didn't have to have an abortion. You know, there was options. And she said, do you want my baby? And my sister had done stork duty, you know, taking care of the mother for the last period of time while she was pregnant with my daughter. And so I got thrown into situations here because of being a hometown pioneer that is way beyond me. But then I always have to remember, heed not your frailties. Put your trust in God and be assured of ultimate victory. So,
so you have 2 children now?
I actually have 3 stepsons that are white, and then a biracial daughter, Black and white together, and a son who's Lumbee. When I took him to the hospital to show the nurses that were my friends, my new baby, this Indian man said, "That's not a white baby." And I said, "No, it's not. This is an Indian baby. This is a Lumbee baby."
Good for you.
And, yeah, and I told my husband what to say if he ever had somebody picking at him like that, trying to make him say it, you know.
Right.
And he said, if you hadn't told me, I don't know what I would have done. But this lady kept saying that, and all she needed to hear was his acknowledgement that this child, you know, was slightly different than his mom and dad were. But I sometimes worry I taught my daughter too much about white fragility, but
Mm.
You know, just without intending to, you know.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
find,
we're all enmeshed in it, and we all have to unlearn those insidious things. It's all of us, you know. We all have different things we've absorbed, and you know, people of African descent, we've absorbed, you know, some of the same lies and things that are out there about us, and have had to deprogram ourselves, and you know,
but
so
just a little bit of love changes the whole relationship.
yes, it does. It makes everything else possible, really, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Orman had a comment. Orman?
You know, yes, I was struck earlier about you mentioned about the pupil of the eye and the relationship of the white surrounding pupil, and we are so independent or interdependent upon each other.
Mm-hmm.
Can't exist without the other. You know, the pupil would not function at, you know, if it doesn't have the I guess the retina.
The
other part.
It's the sclera, the white part.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was struck by you mentioning that earlier. You made that analogy, and
well, it's in that quote, you know, surrounded by the white, and the white is the sclera.
Yeah.
Unless you get hepatitis and turn yellow.
Well, we have so much to, you know, we're such a richer human race when we recognize our commonality, you know.
And our contributions, right? You know, cultural diversity, you know, all of those things. It's a very interesting topic. Several interesting topics come out of much of that. You know, what do we do when there's no race? When people recognize we're all one human race? I mean, really recognize it. Do we still need labels? And what would those labels be? You know, that's just one of those questions that are being thought about and discussed, which is quite fascinating.
Mankind.
What's that, Carolyn?
Human and mankind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
My daughter wanted to, we tried to do, in a 4th grade, we had I was inspired by a quote, if we judge each other too much, we won't be able to love each other. And that was on the wall in her teacher's room. So I got inspired to share, and it did happen to occur in Black History Month, but that was really an accident that we ended up. But I used a lot of things from Child Way, and I used the quote about, does anybody know the story of the Golden Rule? And one Black child said, "Don't do unto others what they do to you." Isn't that sad?
It is.
Yeah.
That's,
and one child said, "Why do we have a Black History Month?" This was years ago. My daughter's 30 now. And I said, well, there was so much time we didn't ever acknowledge what Black people were doing to contribute to the whole. And that's why we have to have it for a while. And but some of my family's terrified of the anger of Black people. And I've been trying to, well, I don't really try too hard, but once in a while I'll try. And, but the love in the family allows you to do that, you know? Try
Absolutely.
to push the envelope just a little bit. I think that love is something that you don't break that easy.
That's right.
And then it was a perfect example when I talked to my sister this morning, who got real defensive when I said something about the Democratic Convention. And but then as we talked, I could feel the love soften her, just like that quote that says it only takes a drop of water to soften the hard clay of which this perverse generation is molded.
Mm-hmm.
Just a drop of moisture. I felt that moisture coming in to it. And that was so nice. That was, I guess that's love. I think.
Yeah, it is.
I've been struggling so hard to figure out what love is.
We all are. We all are.
That makes me feel better to know that.
We're all in that struggle. And you know, I want to share with you, you know, with respect to the fear, you know, that some of your family has. Your average Black person isn't mad at individual white people, you know, unless they've had a personal situation, right? Maybe that's a different story, but, and this is just my viewpoint, okay?
Yeah, of course.
It's about the institutionalization of it. And it's the frustration that many white people won't even consider that there is this institutionalized system, right? Yeah, yeah.
Well, see, to me, it's just the horror of the past that I never was exposed to.
Yeah.
The horror of it is just overwhelming to me. And I've been reading a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, everyone's growing, everyone's evolving, you know, everyone's, you know, so I hope you can come to Carol Campbell's presentation next Saturday.
I'm planning it.
Because you'll find that very, very helpful.
Thank you for your effort.
You know, I have you on the list, right? Did we email?
I sure hope so, because I'm coming if.
Okay.
I did it through Facebook. I saw the announcement through Facebook, and I put it on there about 2 weeks ago, or a week ago at least. I put it on my calendar so I wouldn't forget.
Great, great. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I'm going to change the subject and let everyone get some rest and everything. But Kento, you're a musician and you do drums, correct?
Yes. Yes.
What is the indigenous names of some of the drums in your area in Chile?
There's only one, and it's called the kultrun. That's their only drum, and it is used in all of their ceremonies, and it's very central to their healing ceremonies.
Okay.
The drum is it's a tranquilizer.
Of course, yeah.
The rhythm, you know, constant, so that the herbs and the medications will take effect to relax the nervous system. It's a very interesting ceremony.
Please tell me the name again.
Kultrun.
Kultrun.
Kultrun. Kultrun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Say good night to you all.
Good night, Armand. Thank you for your prayer this evening.
Yes, thank you. Good night.
Okay, good night. Oh, good night, Regina.
Sister Sherlyn. And I don't know if y'all going to say a closing prayer. If you will, I'll hang around, but I want to say thank you otherwise.
Okay.
See you Sunday night, Sister Cheryl.
Okay, is anyone ready for a closing prayer? Or do people still want to stay and chat? I'm going to get off, but we'll leave it open.
I think we're done.
Think we're done? Okay. Do you have a prayer in mind, Berdina?
No, but it won't take long to put one together.
Okay. And you may not see me Sunday night because I've got an all-day
okay. It's a short one.
Thing. Yeah.
I'm going to try to say it from memory. If anybody has a prayer book, they can check me out on unity.
Okay.
From Baha'u'llah. God grant that the light of unity will envelop the whole earth, and the seal, the kingdom is God's, be stamped upon the brow of all its peoples. Baha'u'llah.
Oh God, guide me, protect me, illumine the lamp of my heart, make me a brilliant star. Thou art the mighty and powerful. O Dios, guíame, protégame. Ilumina la lámpara de mi corazón y haz de mí una estrella brillante. Awem ganachen, my chintunia yen ko kantunia yen. Pelun tun mayen. Ka taumane, in che mel, in che wilef, wendolen. Amy ta na when you lu, kom na when you lu.
Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor, in both this world and in the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise.
Aloha, dear friends.
Aloha.
Yes, and you know, the Bible gives us a good little reminder that David and his little slingshot and his faith in the Lord and the presence of the Lord with him, which we are assured of from Universal House of Justice. You know, that's a beautiful story. I think it's in Samuel 17 or something like that. But anyway, it's just, you know, we got Goliath, the racism, but that's nothing for our Lord, nor for us. Good night.
That's right.
I love you and thank you. I'll see you Sunday nights, sister.
Love you too, Verdina.
Okay, I know you do. Bye-bye. Aloha.